See, so far we discussed 3 chapters, just chapter headings. First chapter, overview on test automation. Second chapter, overview on UFT tool. Third chapter, UFT tool features. Next, as per our schedule, UFT test process. UFT test process. Okay, before going to discuss UFT test process, first software test process, manual test process, software test process, or you can say software test life cycle, STLC, software test life cycle. Okay, see, already we discussed software test life cycle may vary from one company to another, sometimes one project to another. But what we are going to discuss is standard process, formal process. Some companies may not follow formal process. See, in this formal process, we have 4 phases. First phase, test planning. Test planning. See, in this phase, test lead or team lead primary role. Team members contribution also required. See, input or references. Input or references for test planning phase. Surendra, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Pardon?
I just said I can hear your voice.
Okay, cool. Tell me, Sujata, what are the inputs or reference documents for test planning phase in software test life cycle?
Test plan.
Test plan, say test plan can be generated in this phase only. Test plan is output of this phase, not input.
Okay.
Test
Okay.
plan is output of requirements. Say requirements, document name, whatever it might be, SRS, FRS, CRS, whatever it might be. Requirement specifications is mandatory input for all phases in software test life cycle or software test process. Next, project plan. See, project manager prepares project plan. Based on project plan, test lead or team lead prepares test plan. Project plan. Next, test strategy. Test strategy. What is test strategy? Test strategy is high level document, company level document, not project level document. Company level document. It describes all test levels and test types within those levels, etc. See, final conclusion, test strategy provides that how to implement software testing. Next, these are mandatory documents. Mandatory. See, some companies may not have test strategy, that is different thing. It is formal process. Next, optional docs, process guidelines. Process guidelines docs. Next, corporate standards docs, corporate standards docs, one or more. Next, if available, design docs, etc. See, these are the mandatory and optional inputs or references for test planning phase. See, first input, next tasks. What are the important tasks in test planning phase? Can you tell me, Kanti, what are the important tasks in test planning phase of STLC?
Analyzing the requirement.
Analyzing the requirements. Yes. See, first initial task. First task, understanding and analyzing the requirements. Understanding and analyzing the requirements. After understanding and analyzing requirements, risk analysis, feasible study, risk analysis. Next, see, requirement is there. Next, test strategy implementation. See, test strategy. Implementation. See, test lead or team lead implements test strategy for this project. Suppose in our project, functional testing, performance testing, and usability testing. These are the test types. Test lead implements test strategy for those three test types. Suppose for another project, functional testing, security testing, compatibility testing, etc. The test lead implements those test types strategy. See, this is company level document. Test strategy implementation. Next, Aarti. Understanding and analyzing requirements, risk analysis, test strategy implementation. Next,
Maybe select the test cases.
select test cases. Where are test cases? We design test cases in next phase, in test design phase. See, in this phase, no test cases. Okay, requirement is ready, strategy is ready. Strategy means how to conduct testing. Requirement is ready. For example, general requirement, going to another city, that is your requirement. Next, strategy required, how to go, by flight, by train, etc. Based on strategy, estimations vary. See, test estimations. Bharati, can you hear me? Bharati, hello?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Now you connected, okay. Test estimations. See, for test estimations, some considerable factors. Important factor, scope of the application. Scope of the AUT, application under test. For example, banking and financial applications having more scope than other applications. For example, one ERP application failed for 1 hour. ERP application, industry automation. Okay, problem is there, but that all employees of that industry under the control of that management. After rectifying the problem, they can enter data and control the process. Suppose banking application failed for 1 hour. All bank customers not under the control of the bank. So problem. See scope of the application. Banking, insurance and financial applications having more scope than other applications. Scope of the application. Next, tell me Aarti, any other considerable factors for test estimations?
I can't think anything, sir.
Madhuri.
Tools to be used.
Tools, here we are not discussing about test automation. Software process, manual test process. Scope of the project, one considerable factor. Next, available resources, environmental and human resources. Next, time as per customer and budget. See, after considering all these factors, test lead prepares test estimations. Next, after estimations, test plan documentation, and one more thing, team formation. Which one is first? Bharati, can you tell me? Test plan documentation, one task. Team formation is another task. Which one is first in this planning phase?
Test planning formation.
Test plan documentation or team formation?
Test plan formation.
Test plan, not formation. Test plan documentation or
Yeah, okay.
a test plan documentation is one task. Another task is team formation. Which one is first?
Test documentation is first.
Test plan documentation. No. Team formation is first. Some companies may not follow formal process. Team formation is first. Why? All team members' contribution also required for test plan documentation. See, team formation. Team formation. Next, test plan documentation. All of you put mute. Test plan documentation. Next, one more thing, configuration. Configuration management planning. What is configuration management, Sujata? What is configuration management? See, this is not only for testing teams, also for development team and all stakeholders of the project. Configuration management. For testers also, configuration management is important task. What is configuration management? Say yes or no, no problem.
No, sir.
Okay,
No, sir.
cool, cool. Aarti. Aarti.
Yeah, yes, sir.
What is configuration management planning? Okay, okay, put mute.
I know
will
it, but it's hard for me to explain.
Okay.
Configuration management means, for example, once you're done let's say the test plan, and you have to put it in the system, and your manager approve that according to the requirement.
Okay, okay. Description some confusing. Okay, cool. Configuration management. See, storing, organizing all configuration items storing and organizing all configuration items is called configuration management. Here important task is version history. For every document, versions. Test plan version 1, version 2. If any update is there, version will change. See, storing and organizing all configurable items is called configuration management. Configuration management not only for testing team, also for all stakeholders of the project, for development team, for project management, for business analyst, etc. Okay. Forget about remaining teams. Our testing team point of view, what are the configurable items? See, what software and hardware we use for testing and what documentation we produce during testing, all comes under configuration items. Test plan is configuration item. Test case docs, test data, defect reports, etc. Okay na Madhuri? Now tell me 2 points here. One is what is configuration management. Another is what are the configurable items in software testing.
Configuration management is storing and organizing the configurable items.
Next, what are the configurable items in software testing area?
It is the
what software and hardware we use and what documentation we produce all comes under configuration items. For example, test plan, test case docs, test data, defect report, test summary report, etc. Okay na?
okay.
Next, traceability. Traceability documentation. Say test lead creates traceability document. Test lead or team lead creates traceability documents. All team members update this document throughout the life cycle. What is the purpose of traceability document? Bharati, what is the purpose of traceability document?
Mapping the test cases.
Mapping test cases with, you forgot the source.
With requirements.
With requirements. Okay, mapping test cases with requirements so that we can verify all requirements are covered or not, etc.
Yes.
Next important task.
Sir, if you don't mind, can you do one more time? Traceability documentation.
Traceability mapping requirements with test cases. Suppose we have 200 requirements. For covering 200 requirements, we wrote 300 test cases. See, mapping so that we can verify all requirements covered or not, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, sir. And who does that? That's the main thing I forgot. The test manager or the whole team?
Concentrate, already I told. Test lead or team lead creates this document. All team members update this document throughout the life cycle.
Yeah, got it now, sir. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Next, setup, test environment setup. Test environment setup. Say, test environment. Here three phases. First, define See, in this phase, define only. Define test environment setup. Who defines test environment or test lab setup? Test lead, based on SRS document. Who prepares test environment? Who implements test environment? Technical support people, hardware and network administrators or system administrators, like technical support people. Next, who verifies test environment setup? Testers, team members. When? During test execution phase. During test execution, testers or team members verify test environment setup. Test lead knows what to install. Technical support people know how to install. Next, team members verify test environment setup. See here, 3 phases. Define test environment setup by test lead. Next, implement test environment setup. Implement test environment setup by network or system administrators. Next, verify test environment setup by testers or team members. Testers or team members. Okay. See, these are the important tasks in test planning phase. Okay. Output. Output of the phase. Tell me, Bharati, what is output? Input, tasks, output.
Output schedule.
Schedule all comes under test plan document only. In test plan document, you can find features to be tested, features not to be tested, schedule, roles and responsibilities, environmental needs, next entry criteria, exit criteria, suspension criteria, etc. in test plan document only. See here, test plan. Test plan is output for this phase. It is input for next phase. Suppose if you prepare configuration management plan document, that is also input. But configuration management planning is optional, not mandatory. But test plan document, mandatory. Next, second phase. Sujata, planning phase
Test
over.
design. Test design now.
Test design. Test design. Same. Input, or you can say references. Already we discussed the requirements is mandatory input for all phases. Requirements. Next, test plan. It is roadmap for testing. These are mandatory inputs. Next, anything else? Aarti?
I think that's all about it.
The test matrix, sir.
What is test matrix? It's not
The test
mandatory.
cases we write,
Not mandatory. Okay. Requirements, test plan. If available, all these process guidelines, design docs, etc. Design docs also provide clarity of requirements. Next, test case template. Next, test data template. See, some companies maintain test case and test data templates in single document. Some companies maintain different documents. See, based on your company, you can follow. See, these are the input or references for test design phase. Next, tasks. Kanti, tell me what are the important tasks in this test design phase?
Creating test scenarios.
Making?
Hello?
Tell me.
Creating test scenarios.
Test scenarios. Okay. Before that, here also understanding the requirements. Next, creating test scenarios or outlines. Next, test case documentation. Test case documentation. Next, test data collection. I am using collection term instead of test data preparation or test data creation. See, some test data testers prepare. Example, phone number object takes 10-digit numeric value that we can prepare. Some test data we have to collect from developers. Some test data we have to collect from customers also. For example, cities information is there. Cities information. That cities information depends on customer business. We need to collect the data from customer. See, test data collection. Next, output. Test scenarios. Next, test case docs, one or more. Next, test data. Next, third phase of software test process. Tell me, Bharati, after test planning and test design, then what is the next phase in software test life cycle or in software test process?
Test case design, test. Yeah, after reviewing the.
Okay, test case design, review, approval, all comes under that phase only. See, here I am providing high level points only, brief introduction. For every document, 3 phases. Document creation by author. Next, document review. Next, document approval by higher management. See, document creation, document review, document approval. That is for every test document. I am asking what is the next phase? Okay, cool. Madhuri, what is the next phase in software test process? Surendra.
Test execution.
Test execution. Good. Test execution. Here we have some levels of test execution. Before that, first task in this test execution. Okay. Input. Requirements. Sometimes we need to cross check. Input or references. Requirements. Test plan document. Next, test case. See, all these are. Next, uh, defect report template. Suppose we are using any tool for defect management, tool provides defect report template. Next, some pre-setup. What is that pre-setup? A readiness of test environment, next readiness of AUT. Say for test design phase, test environment optional, but for test execution, test environment mandatory. Readiness of AUT is mandatory. Suppose if it is test design, without test environment also you can design test cases by copying requirements doc and test case template. You can design test cases from standalone missions also. See, next tasks. Important tasks. First, verify test environment or test lab. Test environment setup. Who verifies test environment setup? Testers or team members. Next, create test batches. Queue, execution queue. Next, test execution. Don't confuse. This test execution is selected test execution is phase. This test execution is task. See, we have some levels of test execution. First level of test execution, sanity testing. Sanity testing. See, some are saying smoke testing. Anyhow, it is controversy concept. Some are saying sanity is different, smoke is different, but as per IEEE, sanity and smoke testings are synonyms. Next, BVT, build verification testing, or BAT, build acceptance testing. See, widely using term is sanity testing. What is sanity testing? What is sanity testing? Sujata. First level of test execution, sanity testing. What is sanity testing?
No, sir.
Verifying whether the build means software build. Verifying whether the software build is acceptable or not by executing basic functionality tests. Basic functionality tests. See, verifying whether the build is acceptable or not by executing basic functionality tests. Example, login like. Next, after accepting the build, see this sanity testing on every build, every modified build, not only first build. Next, after acceptance, comprehensive testing, complete testing. Here we execute all possible test cases. Next, in comprehensive testing, if we find any deviations from expected, defect reporting. Next, defect tracking, tracking for status. Defect tracking. Next, After receiving modified build, again sanity testing. Again sanity testing. Build acceptance testing. Next, selecting test cases for regression and regression testing. A full form re and regression testing. Cycle 1. Next, if you find any defects, same defect reporting tracking. Regression testing cycle 2, like this. At the end, final regression, executing test cases for from high defect density areas. Once again, confirmation. Final regression. Say levels of test execution, sanity testing, comprehensive testing, regression testing, regression 2 types, general regression, final regression. Okay, here output. Output tested software next opened and closed defect reports. Opened and closed defect reports. Closed defect reports. After regression testing, testers close defects. After confirmation, another name of regression testing is confirmation testing. After confirmation, testers close defects. Closed defect reports okay, but what are opened defect reports? Opened defect reports. See, sometimes we postpone defects to next release due to time constraints. Generally, we postpone cosmetic defects only. So that time we need to store opened defect reports also. Next, last phase of this software test process or software test life cycle, test closure. Test closure. Input or references for test closure. See, requirements mandatory. Requirements. Next, test plan also. Test plan. See all testing documents. Next, opened and closed defect reports. Etc. And one template also. Test summary report template. See, summarizing all test activities. Suppose test cases developed 920, executed 899, passed, failed, closed, still opened, etc. Statistics. Summarizing all test activities. Next, tasks. See, in first phase, test planning, and the last phase, test closure, primary role is test lead, Next, all team members' contribution also required. But in second and third phases, test design and test execution, primary role testers and test lead contribution also there. Test lead provides guidance, monitoring and actions, taking actions. Test lead roles in second and third phases, guidance, monitoring and actions. Next, here important tasks, evaluating exit criteria, where you can find exit criteria in test plan. It describes when to stop testing. Next, test summary report preparation. Next, before that, collecting all artifacts, all test documents. Next, sending test deliverables. What are the test deliverables? What documents we produce during testing? All comes under test deliverables. Test plan, test case docs, test data, opened and closed defect reports, and test summary report, all are test deliverables. Sending test deliverables to customer. Next, last one, optional. Improvement suggestions. Improvement suggestions for future projects. See, this is a brief introduction about software test process or software test life cycle. Okay, na Sujata?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anyhow, it is not part of our syllabus. In order to understand that UFT test process, first we discussed software test process. Okay, come to mainstream. UFT test process. Put mute. UFT test process, or you can say UFT test life cycle. UFT test process. Here first phase, planning. What are the important tasks in this planning phase? Can you tell me, Bharati, important tasks in planning phase, EFT test process planning phase?
Gathering the requirements.
Gathering requirements. In automation, we gather requirements. Anyhow, gathering requirements is one of the phase of SDLC, software development life cycle. See, in software testing, we don't gather requirements, isn't it?
Okay.
We don't gather requirements. Okay. Madhuri. Okay.
Designing the test.
Designing test. We are in planning phase. Planning. Okay. Here initial task, get environment details. Get environment details. Already we discussed in second chapter. UFT is object-based test tool. Based on front-end objects only, it performs test operations. But some exemptions are there. For database testing, no front-end object reference is required. See, in order to select appropriate add-ins, first we need to get the environment details, application environment details from development team. Here, what are the important details? UI, user interface, UI design technology, this is for selecting add-ins. Next, database, this is for connecting database. See, get environment details from development team and select appropriate add-ins. See, this is initial task. Okay. After selecting add-ins, load add-ins, then UFT can recognize our application objects. Next one, see, major challenge in functional test automation. Not only in UFT, you take any tool, UFT, RFT, Silk Test, Selenium, any functional test automation tool, major challenge is object identification. If tool recognizes all of our application objects, then automation is simple. You can use tool features and script features for automation. But major challenge is object identification. First, we need to analyze the AUT in terms of object identification. See, observe, it is a roadmap for our program. Just I am indexing the concepts. Later we will discuss each and every concept in detailed manner. First I am indexing the concept. This is only roadmap. Say, analyze the AUT. AUT stands for application under test. Analyze the AUT in terms of object identification. Okay. How to analyze? Suppose if tool is not recognizing some of our application object, after loading required add-ins also, then what are the solutions that we will discuss in automation framework implementation chapter at the end of the program. Now just a brief idea. Analyze the AUT in terms of object identification. How to analyze the AUT? We have three methods available for analyzing. Just remember, I will show practical later. Best method is recording. See, record and playback. See, by record and playback some end-to-end scenarios, we can analyze the AUT in terms of object identification. Suppose if you record one navigation, playback time it is showing errors. That time object identification problem. Suppose playing back properly, then no issues. See, by record and playback is best method for analyzing the AUT. Next, using object spy. It is handy feature of UFT tool. It gets objects information. Next, using view options. Using view options in object repository. See, we have two view options in UFT object repository. One is highlight in application, another is locate in repository. That I will explain in object repository chapter. What is the purpose of view options? Using view options, we can map objects in between object repository and application under test. Mapping objects in between object repository and application. See, these are the three methods for analyzing the AUT. Best method is record and playback. Okay. Tell me, Bharati, two tasks we discussed in planning phase of UFT test process. What are the two tasks? First task.
First task is the get the environment setup details.
Get environment details from development team. Why environment details? What is the
Design
use?
technology. Design technology.
Okay, UI design technology and database information required. Why? What is the reason?
As add in we can add in relation.
See, UFT is object-based test tool. Based on front-end objects, it performs test operations. If you want to test Java application, Java add-in required. If you want to test SAP application, SAP add-in required. If you want to test web application, web add-in required. See, in order to select appropriate add-ins for our application, we need to get the environment details. Not all details. Suppose what is web server, what is application server, not required. What is UI design technology? Enough. But database information also there, also required. Why? For database connectivity, we need to create database connection string and communicate with the database for database testing. Okay. Second task.
Object identification.
Analyze the AUT in terms of object identification. How to analyze? How to analyze?
By recording and playback method. And object is by and object to repository views object to repository.
Using view options.
View
options in object repository. Okay. Okay. Put mute. Surendra, what is the purpose of view options? Purpose of view options. Two view options are there in object repository: highlight in application and locate in repository. What is the purpose?
To view the properties of an object.
To view the properties. To view the properties of an object, you can use object spy. Okay, follow. Try to follow. Kanti. Purpose of view options in object repository. Two times I repeated that sentence.
For mapping the objects.
Mapping objects.
With respect to.
Not with respect to. Mapping objects in between object repository and application under test. Okay, concentrate. Mapping objects. See, using view options, we can map objects in between OR object repository and AUT application under test. Okay, this is second task. Next, select test cases for automation. See, in this area, no restrictions and no recommendations from vendor also. You can select maximum test cases. Already we discussed 100% test automation is impractical. Generally, we try to automate maximum test cases, not all test cases. Sometimes manual interaction also required. Generally, we try to automate maximum test cases, not all test cases. Okay, here no restrictions, no recommendations, but some common areas available in the industry. Generally, we try to automate these three common areas. We try to automate these three common areas. What are the common areas? First one, tests. Already we discussed. In manual testing, term is test case. In UFT test automation, we use test or test script. In Selenium, same test case term. But in UFT, test or test script. Okay. Tests that we have to execute on every build. See, tests that we have to execute on every build. Example, Sanity tests. See, Sanity tests can be executed multiple times for every project. If it is manual testing, every time taking, every time human user interaction is required. If it is automation, once you design Sanity tests, tool can execute multiple times whenever required without human user interaction also. Definitely we can save the time. Next, test that we have to execute on every modified build. Every modified build. Example, regression tests. Regression tests. Say, Sanity tests constant, fixed. Most of the time Sanity tests fixed, but regression tests dynamic, not constant. Regression tests depends on complexity of the application and strength of development team. Next, one more area, test that we have to execute using multiple sets of test data. See, tests that we have to execute using multiple sets of test data. See, type of tests, data driven tests. Data driven tests. First of all, why data driven testing? Why data driven testing? Surendra, suppose for one input my application is responding fine. Why I need to use multiple inputs? Suppose login functionality is there. For user ID 1 and password 1 it is executing. Why I need to test with multiple user IDs and passwords? What is the purpose of data driven testing? First of all, why data driven testing?
If you want to test the application with multiple values.
Multiple values, okay. Why we need to test multiple values? Test with multiple values.
To check the behavior of the application, how it responds.
Behavior, how it responds. Okay. Bharati, can you tell me? Try to understand my question. Suppose for single input or for one input, my application is responding fine. Why I need to test with multiple sets of test data?
Sorry, okay.
Getting the question or not?
Yeah, I got it.
For example, observe this login is there. Suppose ABCD password Mercury.
Application.
Click OK. It is launching. Say login functionality working fine. Then why I need to test with multiple inputs? Suppose 20 agent names and 20 passwords, or 10 agent names and 10 passwords. Why I need to test with multiple sets of test data?
Whether the application handles the error conditions.
Error conditions. Not reaching properly.
No, application is accepting the multiple.
Who told negative testing?
Sujata, sir.
Sujata. Yes, correct answer. Say, positive and negative testing, we use data driven testing. Negative testing important. Positive scenarios simple. Negative scenarios more. Say, we have to check whether the application is accepting valid inputs or not and preventing invalid inputs or not. See, negative testing. For negative testing, we use data-driven testing. Okay, na Kanti? Next, tool settings, configuration, and globalize. See, already we discussed. You take any software, you can find two types of features: constant features and configurable features. Constant features that we have to use as it is. Configurable features, according to our needs, we can configure them. In our UFT also, constant features are there and configurable features also there. Give some examples for configurable features in UFT, Sujata. Give some examples for configurable features in UFT. I think day before yesterday only we discussed.
Yes, sir.
Configurable features in UFT. Kanti. Configurable features in. Pardon?
Object identification.
Yes. Object identification configuration. Tool options configuration. Virtual object configuration. Test settings configuration, etc. Okay. Say it is administration task. Test lead task. Suppose in our company only 1 or 2 members involving in test automation. That time as a test engineer you also involve in this tool settings configuration. Configuring tool settings according to our project. Configuration is okay. Then why? What is globalized tool settings? Already we discussed. UFT tool is one-tier application, standalone application, desktop application. It doesn't have any database. It doesn't have client-server architecture. If you configure settings in your machine, how can all team members get same configuration? Suppose as a team lead or test lead, I configured settings in my machine. How can all team members get same configuration? To do this, we need to globalize tool settings. Globalized tool settings means, anyhow, that we will discuss in UFT administration chapter. Globalized tool settings means providing common configuration for all missions, providing common configuration for all missions in a project. See, these four are the important tasks in planning phase, but one more also there, that is not mandatory, optional but important. Optional but important. Automation framework implementation. It is optional. Why optional? See, without automation framework also, we can create and execute tests. Batch testing feature is there. Without automation framework, we can create and execute tests. But above four tasks are mandatory. Get environment details, analyzing AUT, select test cases, tool settings configuration. All those are mandatory tasks. But last one, optional task but important task. What is automation framework? Anyhow, this chapter takes nearly 5 to 6 hours. Just I will provide the definition. In automation framework implementation chapter, we will discuss. Nearly it takes 5 to 6 hours. Okay. What is automation framework? It is a systematic approach to automate software test process. It is a systematic approach to automate software test process. See, these are the important tasks in planning phase. Tell me, Madhuri, what are the important tasks in planning phase of UFT test process? 5 tasks we discussed. Just
getting the environment details. Like UI design technology.
Okay.
And
getting environment details. What are the important details? UI design technology and database. Okay. Getting environment details from development team and select appropriate add-ins. That is first task. Next, continue.
Analyze
the AUT
in terms of object identification.
Object identification. Next.
Select test cases for automation.
Select test cases for automation. Next. Fourth
Test
one.
that we have to execute multiple tests. Multiple sets.
Executing multiple sets of test data are part of selecting test cases only. Don't confuse.
It's tool settings. And,
tool settings, configuration and globalize. Next, last task.
One is automation framework.
Automation framework.
Implementation.
Implementation. Okay. See once again. First one. Get environment details from development team and select appropriate add-ins. Next, analyze the AUT in terms of object identification. Next, select test cases for automation. Next, tool settings configuration and globalize. Next, automation framework implementation. Okay. Next, in manual testing, test design. Second stage or phase, it is single phase. In manual testing, test design is second phase, single phase. In UFT, we can divide test design phase into 2 sub phases. Second one, generate basic tests. Next, third phase, enhance tests. Enhance. See, modifying tests is different, enhancing tests is different. Modifying test is different. Enhancing test is different. Okay. See, these two comes under test design. What is the difference? Generating basic tests means creating plain navigation. Creating plain navigation. Enhancing tests means adding comments, inserting verification points, parameterization, synchronization, inserting transaction points, etc. with respect to requirements. See, generating basic tests means creating plain navigation. Enhancing tests means inserting verification points, error handling, parameterizing if required, synchronization if required, etc. with respect to requirements. Got the point, Sujata? Find the difference between generating basic tests and enhancing tests.
Yes, sir. Generating basic tests is creating plain navigation, and enhancing tests is inserting verification points, parameterization, synchronization,
error handling.
And,
important one is error handling.
Okay. Yes, sir. And inserting transaction points.
Okay. See, I will show a simple example. See, this login functionality is there in flight reservation sample application. Here, launching application, enter agent name, enter password, click OK button. This is plain navigation. Generating basic test. Next, verification required. Otherwise, no meaning of test. Verification. How to confirm this login functionality? If login is successful, then you can get flight reservation window. By checking the existence of flight reservation window, you can confirm login operation. Means here verification point comes under enhancing tests. Next, suppose if you enter invalid input, if you enter valid input, then you can get correct output. Means that flight reservation window. If you enter invalid input, it raises error pop-up. We need to close the error and cancel the dialog in order to perform next iteration. See, error handling also part of enhancing tests. Okay. Okay, generating basic tests, enhancing tests.
Sir. Sir, what is the difference between modifying test cases, test scripts, and enhancing test scripts?
Good. Who is asking?
Madhuri, sir.
Okay, good, good. See, enhancing tests means with respect to requirements, inserting verification points, error handling, etc. Modifying tests means, say, suppose any changes in requirements, see, after creating tests, any changes in requirements, then we need to modify the test. Modifying verification and modifying basic navigation also. Modification based on changes in requirements. Enhancing based on test conditions in requirements. Got the point?
Yes, sir.
Tell me the basis. What is the basis for enhancing tests? Test conditions in requirements. What is the basis for modifying tests?
It's a changing of the requirements.
Changing of requirements. For example, observe, good question, observe. Suppose first I got requirement. Requirement is login functionality. After entering valid agent name and password, we can get flight reservation window. Suppose agent name, password. This is basic test. Next, enhancements. See, capture this flight reservation window name, and compare with expected. Verify the existence of flight reservation window. This is enhancement. And provide error handling also for invalid inputs. All these are enhancements. Okay, after some time, developers changed this window name. Developers changed this window design or window name. That time we need to modify the verification point also now.
Yes, sir.
See, that is the difference between enhancements and modifications. Any confusion, Sujata?
No, sir.
Okay. See, enhancing tests later. First, generating basic tests. Okay, tell me, Bharati, how to generate basic tests in UFT? Have any idea?
No, sir.
No idea. Okay.
Just the recording and playback.
Good. Playback is execution. Recording is test
recording.
design. Recording comes under test design. Playback is execution. Forget about playback. Okay.
Okay.
Recording is one of the method for test design. Next, anything else?
And VB script. VB script.
VB script. Recorded script also. Recorded script also in VB script format only. But. Okay. Okay. Try to reach. Okay. You tell me, Aarti.
We create the test.
Aarti.
Keyword driven methodology.
Keyword driven methodology. What is keyword driven methodology?
Generates the test manually by using the share object repository, I guess.
That is also one of the method. Anything else?
Descriptive programming?
Yes. See, observe, concentrate. See, in high level orientation, we have two methods for test design. We have two methods for test design. One is object repository based test design. Object repository based test design. Next, non-repository, without repository, that is descriptive programming. See, already I told it is only roadmap for our program. Only I am indexing the concepts. We will discuss each and every concept in detailed manner. Okay. Again, in object repository based test design, two sub methods. One is recording. Another is without recording. The term is keyword driven methodology. Keyword driven methodology. What is keyword driven methodology? Don't confuse. Keyword driven framework is different. Keyword driven methodology is different. What is keyword driven methodology? Generating tests manually means without recording, using shared object repositories. See, recording uses local object repositories. Recording uses local object repositories. In keyword driven methodology, we use shared object repositories. See, recording without recording. Next, descriptive programming. Descriptive programming without object repository. We provide objects information also in Statements are steps. We provide objects information also directly in steps. That is descriptive programming. Descriptive programming also two types. Static programming. Next, dynamic programming. And one more thing, UFT supports hybrid approach for test design. Hybrid test design. Hybrid approach. What is hybrid approach? Suppose in our project 100 tests. Use recording for all 100 tests, or use keyword driven methodology for all 100, or use static programming for all 100, or use dynamic programming for all 100. Any one out of 4. Otherwise, use object repository based test design, either recording or keyword driven methodology for some tests. Suppose some 50 tests using object repository, remaining 50 tests using descriptive programming. No issues. See, based on your feasibility, you can follow. Otherwise, suppose 25 tests using recording, 25 tests using keyword driven methodology, 25 tests using static programming, remaining tests using dynamic programming. No issue. UFT supports hybrid test design. We can use object repository based test design and descriptive programming in our project. Otherwise, you can follow any one method. Okay now, Surendra, are you following this topic?
Yes, sir.
Now, final conclusion. Tell me, Sujata, how to design tests in UFT? How?
Generating basic tests in UFT, 2 methods. Object repository based test design and descriptive programming. Object repository based test design is again 2 types: recording, like using local object repositories, and keyword driven methodology using shared object repositories. Descriptive programming is also without object repository, and it is of 2 types: static programming and dynamic programming. UFT supports hybrid approach for test design.
We can use a single method for all tests, or you can mix for some tests object repository based test design, remaining test descriptive programming. Okay now, Bharati, are you following? Any confusion?
No confusion.
See, anyhow, generating basic tests is simple task, a routine task, but enhancing tests some difficult. Okay, follow. Enhancing tests. Say, for creating tests, basic tests, UFT tool features are the only solutions. Okay, that test script might be in VB script format, but who recognizes objects? UFT tool only recognizes objects. UFT tool only recognizes objects. VB script doesn't recognize objects. Suppose if VB script recognizes objects, then no use of UFT tool. VB script doesn't recognize objects. That test script format might be in VB script, but UFT tool only recognizes objects. Okay. But in enhancing tests, you can use either UFT tool features or VB script features. Nearly 12 to 13 enhancing methods available. Some methods belongs to UFT, some methods belongs to VB script. We will discuss all methods based on your requirement, your project requirement. You can use. Okay. Say for enhancing tests, nearly 12 to 13 methods available. For example, if you want to insert verification point, for that you can use UFT tool feature checkpoint, or you can use VB script feature conditional statements. Suppose if you want to parameterize your test, for that you can use UFT tool feature data table or VB script feature loop statements. Suppose you want to measure test transaction time, for that you can use transaction points UFT tool feature. Otherwise VB script timer function. Okay. See, final conclusion, for enhancing tests we have UFT tool features and VB script features. Sometimes we use both based on our time and other feasibilities. Okay. Before indexing enhancing methods, one small recommendation, see, or you can say a suggestion. My suggestion is try to increase the usage of VB script features. Try to increase the usage of VB script features. Why? What are the reasons? Can you tell me, Madhuri? My suggestion is try to increase the usage of VB script features. Why? Why can't we use UFT tool features? Okay, sometimes we use tool features also.
UFT tool has some limitations.
Tool has
limitations.
Okay.
And using the VB scripting, we can decrease the memory size.
Okay. Okay. Bharati, can you tell me why we need to increase the usage of VB script features, programming features? Reasons.
We can modify the easily.
Okay. See, 4 important reasons. First reason, VB script features are faster in execution than tool features. Suppose if you insert checkpoint, UFT has to create one internal registry file in order to maintain that checkpoint, some burden on UFT tool. Suppose instead of UFT checkpoint, if you insert conditional statements, VB script conditional statements, no burden on UFT tool. See, VB script features are faster in execution than tool features. Next, tool features may corrupt, may not corrupt, but there is a possibility. But VB script features won't corrupt. See, tool features may corrupt, but VB script features won't corrupt. Next, tool features, ready-made environments. Ready-made environments have limitations, but scripting logic doesn't have any limitation. That I will explain later. Just try to understand the point. Tool features have limitations, but scripting logic doesn't have any limitation. See. Scripting logic doesn't have any limitations. Scripting logic doesn't have any limitations, but tool features have limitations. Next, one more important point. All script features can be used internally as well as externally, but some tool features can't be used externally. See. All tool features can be used internally as well as externally, but some tool features can't be used. All script features. All script features can be used internally as well as externally, but some tool features, not all, but some tool features can't be used externally, only internally. See, scripting logic doesn't have any limitations, but tool features have limitations. See, these are the 4 reasons. Here, try to understand the concept. First concept, VB script features are faster in execution than tool features. Already I told. If you create any tool feature, suppose checkpoint or output value, etc., UFT has to create internal registry files and maintain. Some burden on UFT tool. If you use script features, conditional statements, loop statements, etc., no burden on UFT tool. So, VB script features are fast in execution. Next, tool features may corrupt, but VB script features won't corrupt. See, tool is software. Software features sometimes corrupt, but VB script is a language. Here only we type commands, statements. It won't corrupt unless until you delete that statements. Next, scripting logic doesn't have any limitations, but tool features tool features have limitations. What are the limitations? For example, inserting transaction time, one feature is there. For measuring test transaction time, for that you can use UFT tool feature transaction points or VB script feature timer function. If we use in future, I will show that practical. See, for measuring test transaction time, you can use UFT tool feature transaction points or VB script feature built-in function of VB script timer function. Timer. Okay. If we use UFT tool feature, you can't export that result to external files. It displays the result in result window only. You can't export the value to external file. If we use VB script feature timer function, you can display the value in result window. You can export the value to external files, etc. Next, all script features can be used internally as well as externally, but some tool features can't be used externally. What is internal use and what is external use? Internal use means accessing features from UFT tool editor, UFT tool built-in editor. External use means accessing features from external library file. Got the point or any confusion, Sujata? Internal use, external use.
Sir, please repeat internal use and external use.
Internal use means accessing features from UFT tool editor. External use means accessing features from external library. Observe.
Okay.
See, I'm displaying current system date, current system time, and date and time. Now, date and time. VB script is not case sensitive. Here I am accessing VB script functions internally from UFT tool editor. Run. See date, time, date and time. This is internal use. Accessing internally from UFT tool editor. For example, external use. Create a library file. Suppose make it as reusable component. Function ABC. And function a.vbs. Now I am going to access VB script features from external library file. First associate that library. See, this we will discuss in functional library. This we will discuss in user defined functions chapter. Now just try to follow this one. Navigation. Now just call that one. Call ABC. Otherwise just type ABC. Run. See date, time, date and time. Observe Sujata, now we are accessing features from external library file na. Hello? Bharati, did you understand this concept? Internal use and external use?
No, I didn't get that one.
What is the problem? Tell me. What is the problem?
How did you save that one?
Forget about that one.
Okay.
Forget about that one. We will discuss in user-defined functions chapter. How to create, how to save, how to associate. Forget about all these things. Just remember two important things. One is accessing features from UFT tool editor. This is tool editor.
Okay.
This is built-in editor. Accessing features from tool editor is internal use.
Okay.
Accessing from external library file, that is external use.
Okay.
This is internal or external?
Internal, that one is
internal. What is ABC?
Common.
What is ABC? It is function defined in external library na.
Okay.
It is external use or internal use?
External use.
External use. Suppose if you write directly like this. This is internal use or external use?
This one is internal.
Internal use. Any confusion?
No.
See, accessing features directly from UFT tool editor is internal use.
Okay.
Accessing from external library files, external use.
Okay.
Here, our point is all script features can be used internally as well as externally. You can directly use in tool editor or you can access from external library. But some tool features can't be used externally, only internally. Got this point?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, cool. Tell me, Sujata.
Yes, sir.
Understand the concept, internal use, external use?
Yes, sir. Understood.
Okay, cool. Now tell me all 4 points. Try to increase the usage of VB script features. Why? What are the reasons?
VB script features are faster in execution than tool features. 1 point. Second point, tool features may get corrupted, but VB script features will not corrupt. Tool features have some sort of limitations, but scripting logic has no limitation.
Scripting logic doesn't have any limitation. Okay.
All script features can be used internally and externally, but some tool features cannot be used externally.
Externally, good. Okay. Now come to mainstream. Enhancing tests. For enhancing tests, we have nearly 12 to 13 methods. All are independent things. Here no sequence required. Why? All are independent things. No dependency. For example, checkpoints purpose is different. Output value purpose is different. Next, parameterization purpose is different. Synchronization purpose is different. All are independent methods. No sequence required. See, first one, no sequence required. Inserting checkpoints. Aarti, is it tool feature or script feature?
It is a tool feature, sir.
Tool feature. How many checkpoints are there in UFT?
9 plus 3, so 12.
12 checkpoints. 9 plus 3. I am writing 9 plus 3. 9 checkpoints are direct checkpoints.
Three
checkpoints are hidden checkpoints. Okay, anyhow, this chapter takes nearly 1.5 hours. In that chapter, we will discuss. In QTP last version, only 11 checkpoints. Last version of QTP 11. In that last version, only 11 checkpoints. In UFT, 12 checkpoints. One checkpoint added. One new checkpoint added. What is that new checkpoint? File content checkpoint. Okay, what are the 12 checkpoints? How to insert, that we will discuss in inserting checkpoints chapter. Now just know what is what. Okay, inserting checkpoints. Checkpoints is UFT tool feature. We have 12 checkpoints. First of all, what is checkpoint? Just a definition level. What is checkpoint? It is a verification point, takes expected from user. It takes expected from the user. User means tester, and compares with the actual results during execution and provides test result. Don't confuse. Here three results: expected result, actual result. After comparing expected and actual, test result. See, it is a verification point, checkpoint. It is a verification point, takes expected result from the user and compares with the actual results during execution and provides test result. Okay, instead of checkpoints, we can use VB script conditional statements also. Okay, next one more, then we will meet tomorrow. Nearly 12 to 13 enhancing methods are there. Inserting transaction points. Here we have two transaction points, start and this is UFT tool feature. Instead of this, you can use for measuring transaction time, we can use either transaction points or VB script timer function. Say, what is the purpose of inserting transaction points? See, actually this feature is not belongs to functional test automation. It is related to performance testing. Already we discussed UFT is basically UFT is functional and regression test tool, but it supports little bit performance testing, not like load runner, 1000 users, 5000 users, only per single user, only per user you can measure test transaction time. Observe, login operation is there. After entering valid username and password, whether it is providing login page or not, that is functional test. Next, how much time that login operation is taking for execution, that is performance test. Got the point, Surendra? Difference between functional and performance testing? Suppose after entering valid username and password, whether it is providing login page or not, that is login functionality, functional testing. how much time that login operation is taking for execution, that is performance testing. UFT supports little bit performance testing. Using this inserting transaction points, we can measure test transaction time. Otherwise, you can use VB script timer function. Okay, na Surendra, any confusion? The second one?
Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
Clear. Okay. We will meet tomorrow, same time. Thank you.